Hello, this is Bino. Welcome back to my channel. I'm an arborist and a tree climber specialist. And what I like to do on this channel is share tree climbing tips to beginners and experts. What I have planned today is to talk about chainsaw, some of the basic components of a chainsaw, and then work on taking the chain off and then putting it back on and tensioning it up. All right, let's get to it. Basically, a chainsaw is used for cutting brush and trees. You can even use it on like wood and construction sites. There's a few different types of chainsaws. The one we got today is a gas-powered one, and with a gas-powered one, it has a mixture of oil and gas that runs it, and then you need to use oil for the bar. There's electric chains where you just plug a wire into it, and that's how that chainsaw operates. And also they have battery-operated chainsaws. So what we're going to do today is talk about this gas-powered one and some of the different components on it. What I'm going to do is I'll start on the back and I'll just mention what everything is, work my way around the chainsaw. So right here you have your rear handle, and on the rear handle you have this throttle interlock. So what this does, it locks the throttle. So and this right here is the throttle. When you grip this handle and then pushing this interlock down, now you can pull the trigger. So it's a safety feature. Real important that this does work, because you don't want the throttle to get hit and then it could run on you. Now here's the bottom handle, and on the bottom handle you have a hand guard. So that's meant, if it was just a normal handle, your hand could get hit on maybe trunks of trees or branches or something, but that's considered a guard. And up here you have the master master operation lever, which is basically an on-off switch. So you go down low, you have a choke, and then it goes to on, and then when you want to turn it off, you hit stop. And that's what this lever does. A little bit further up, you have this twist lock here, and what this twist lock does, it allows you to take off the cap. Let me see. There we go. And inside here you have the air filter. Now you could take this off and clean your air filter, and right inside here is you have the carburetor. Now if you were planning on taking this top part off, there is a screw here that you could take it off, and that's where the fins are that you can blow out if you wanted to. To do that, you'd have to take this spark plug boot off and then lift up, unscrew and then lift up. We're not going to do that today, and I'm not even going to mess with the carburetor. So I'm going to put this back on. Let's see here. And all you do is slide it back on and then lock it. Now, what you come here first is a cap, the gas cap. This is where you have a premix, so it's gas and oil. It's a premix engine. You go further on, you have the cover for the pull cord. And in this is the starting pull cord and the grip. You go a little further here, and you have the this is for the bar oil. So with a bar oil, it's meant to lube the bar and chain. Let me get this out of the way so you can see it a little bit better. And that's the cap for that. And then it brings me to this handle right here. This is a front handle. And then just outside of this is considered a guard and a chainsaw brake. So when you hear this click, when you're operating the chainsaw and you're gonna walk or something, you would push this and it locks your chain so it doesn't move. Ready to work again, you pull that and it unlocks it. And it's also a guard so things won't hit your hand. Now, I'll go back to this area here. These are called bumper spikes. I always knew these as bucking spikes, but I guess according to the manual, it's a bumper spike. And these are good when you're doing like working on wood. You push this into the wood, you nose down your chainsaw, and then bottom it down. And then right here you got the muffler, and then you have the guide bar. This right here is the guide bar. And now we get to the chainsaw chain. So in a chainsaw chain, you have this chain right here is just a regular, like I would say, just a regular old, like a skip chain. With a chain, this is considered the cutter, and this is a depth gauge. And here are the lengths. So when a chainsaw works, this chain, you know, it goes in this direction. So the, you know, the throw is this direction, and then on the bottom, if you were to cut, it kind of pulls toward you. If you use the top of the bar, I mean, it pulls towards you, top of the bar, and if you put it on the bottom of wood, it pulls the chainsaw toward it. This area here, you go from this point and you go up and you go this direction out. This area is considered a kickback zone. Now what that is when this cutter chain link here goes and it hits maybe a piece of wood or could be a little nail or something, this whole bar and chainsaw would kick back radically. The chainsaw could still be spinning, so that's where you could get injured. Now there do have different chains. There's some anti-kickback chains, and they have in front of the depth gauge, they have these areas where they're raised or ramped, and that would slow down kickback. It doesn't mean that you would be guaranteed not to have kickback. It can still happen. So then from there, I'm going to move it over to this side here. And we have the nuts and posts that hold on this cover. So what I'll do is I'll undo this. Let me see. I can come back around this way. I'm gonna have to put this down here. Let me brush this off. Okay. Let's see if I can do this here. Okay. It's important when you're using a chainsaw, you don't want to, when you're tightening it back up, you don't want to put too much pressure on the nuts, because these posts here could get stripped if you put way too much pressure. So that's something that you wouldn't want to do. Let's see, take these guys off. Put them right here. Okay. I'll take this off. This is off. This is pretty mungy. I did a felling tree and I didn't clean it up. So to clean this up, you could just, you know, brush it out a little. And this isn't really going to be a spectacular job. I wasn't thinking about cleaning today, but I kind of just figured now that I got it off, might as well just touch it up a little bit. Let me see. Normally I might want to wash this and clean it really nice. But today I think I'm just gonna get some of the munge off. Now what I've done is I cleaned this side up a little bit now that I got the cover off, and this is what it looks like under the cover. Now you'll see how the chain is connected to the sprocket. These guides are inside the sprocket, and it's inside the groove of the guide bar. Now what you would want to do to take this off is this is a tensioner. So some chainsaws will have a tensioner up front. It just depends on the name brand, but they all do the same thing. And on this one, you turn to your left, and this is the tensioner that goes into the guide bar. Once you do that, it will loosen up the bar, meaning it'll bring the bar back toward the sprocket, so it'll take the tension out of the bar. Once you do that, then you'll be able to take the bar off the chain. And so you do that, take it off real quick. Okay, I'll take the bar off, and I'll throw this chain right here. Now on the guide bar, most guide bars will have labeled on the chainsaw the size of the guide bar and the size of chain that you need. That's just something to know. I don't know if every single bar will have it, but a good majority of them will. Now this is what you got. The sprocket, and then there's a cover for the inside. Now here's a closer look at the tensioners, and then this little section right here, this right here is where the oil comes out of the oil reservoir and onto the bar. So what happens is that pumps oil onto your bar, and this little piece right here, this is where the oil goes into. So as this chain is spinning on the bar, your bar doesn't get hot. It's important to clean these out when you're doing, like, say, maintenance. And this right here is a chain catch. So I worked at a place where people were taking these things off. Doesn't make sense. So what this chain catch does is if you throw your chain, the chain will get hooked up on that. And there's a pretty good distance, say from here to the end of the bar over here. So now say if your chain got thrown, it would prevent it from possibly hitting you. All right, so now that I've taken it apart, shown you guys that, I'll put the bar back on. And in order to do that, you just put the bar back on to that tensioner. Remember, I loosened it up, so now it's close, closer to that crank there. I'll put it back in here. Make sure you put it inside those holes. Go down your bar, throw it inside your guide bar. Get it all in. There it goes. Okay, now I'll pop it back on. It's kind of slid off. Now what I like to do is I'll hold my thumb on here while I do the tensioning up. Now you want to make sure as you tension that the chain goes inside the groove. So let's see, start tightening it up. You see how as I'm doing it, it starts to move outward, and then it'll tension up the chain. Let me see here. Okay, now it's inside. I'm gonna tension it up kind of tight right here at this point. Okay, so now I've gotten it kind of tight. The next thing that I need to get is the cover. Now, I didn't touch the front end of the bar, but I'll show you what I normally do. So I'll get this on here, make sure that it's not gonna fall off. Let me wipe these off a little bit. Okay, and I grab the nuts. And what I'm gonna do with these nuts is I'm just gonna just tighten them snug. I'm not really going to tighten it down yet because I still have to work on the tension of the bar. Now, what's important is that you put upward pressure on the bar when you're tightening your chain. If you don't put upward pressure and you just put it on, tighten it, what'll happen is once your bar hits a log, it'll loosen up your tension. So now that I got it on, this is a little bit snug, but not too snug. Now you can see if what happens is there's some movement here. You want to lift your bar up like this, and now you can see there's some, it's still like a little bit of a gap. So now I'm going to tension it just a little bit more as I'm holding it up with upward pressure. Okay, kind of tight. Okay, now you want to see when you have pressure on here. Let's see if I can do this. You don't want it to go too high out of the groove. About there for me is about right. Now that I have it tensioned and I have upward pressure on the bar, now I'm going to get these nuts and snug them up. Now I was explaining earlier that it's important not to put too much pressure on the post when you're tightening the nuts. So normally I don't go to the end, I just use my hand and I'll get a little bit of snug it. I'll go like halfway and I'll use my thumb. Because what happens if you go to the end and you put a lot of pressure, you could really strip these, and that wouldn't be a very good thing to do. So now that I got it tensioned up, make sure the brake's not on. I'm going to pull this and it moves. So the next thing to do is to start it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it and see if it releases some of the tension on the chain. So let's come right over here, set it on the ground, throw the switch on, see if I can get it to go. Now bring it over to the table here. Yeah, and so unrelease the brake, and now some of the tension is off. So it was really pretty tight, but I can live with this. I can move it from hand freely. There you go. So there you go, some different components on the chainsaw. We went over the handle, some of the guards, some of the brakes, also talking about what kickback is and some of the different types of chains. What we plan in the future is doing a video on chainsaw operation, basic video of chainsaw operation. So I'd stay tuned for that. Remember that if you're going to do something that's new in tree work, be safe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And if you like what we do, share our videos with your friends.